Hi, just a note about this episode before it plays. Throughout the episode, we refer to Plastech Innovation as the first spin-out business from Durham University, which is not correct. To confirm, Plastech Innovation is the first student spin-out from the university. Apart from that, we hope you enjoyed the episode as much as we enjoyed recording it.
Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of Talking Future, a series of podcasts by the Entrepreneurs Forum where we talk to North East entrepreneurs about their work, their lives and especially their views on the future and how they're innovating as they plan ahead. I'm Yvonne Bell and today I'm talking to Natasha Boulding, Chief Executive Officer of Plastech Innovation. With an ambition to put yesterday's plastic into today's technologies, Plastech Innovation take plastic waste, the type that's normally sent to landfill or for incineration, and process it into novel aggregate for use in construction materials. As CEO, Natasha leads a small team that has gone on to win many global awards and is the first spin-out company from Durham University. Good morning, Natasha.
Morning, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. What I'd like to do is just set the scene a little bit about your background and where you've come from, because it's a very chemical background, isn't it? You've obviously had a passion from the start. Did that passion start very early, or was it sort of as you got into school, or what?
I think I never really saw myself in the waste industry, so I find it really difficult to say that I had a passion for waste. But talking about science more broadly, I guess it started back in school, where it's probably similar for most people. They have one teacher who really believes in them, and you kind of develop your subject preferences from there. And I had a particular teacher who believed in me, my chemistry teacher actually, and I didn't have the SATs results to pursue, I think it was called a triple science GCSE or something. And he kind of put his neck on the line and said, come on, let's let her do it. And I think my love for science started there really. And I went on to do my A-levels in science. And then I went to university to study chemistry, and then moved up to the Northeast for my PhD at Durham.
And you've stayed here?
And yeah, I've stayed here. I think the first day I arrived here, I just saw how beautiful it was. And 6 years later, I'm still here and absolutely happy with that decision.
Yeah. So what I said in my introduction was that obviously you went to Durham and you did your PhD there. And then you became part of a spin-out company from Durham University. Is that a sort of fast tracking into business?
No, it probably might be in the future, but it wasn't at the time. So as part of my PhD program, I should say it was never my intention to do a PhD really. The PhD program that I applied for was a bit of a mixture between academia and industry. So we spent 6 months traveling around different industries in the Northeast, in multidisciplinary teams trying to tackle current industrial challenges. And that's when I thought, actually, I prefer the industry side of things rather than academia. I love science and innovation and academia, but it wasn't quite right for me. So yeah, the PhD program allowed us to get a lot of business exposure that you don't necessarily have on a normal PhD program. And that kind of paved the way. So we had a lot of extracurricular things that we could do with the programs. There was a business school, and that was my first experience of business. And there I realized that, this is definitely something that I really enjoy. I still didn't think this is something that I would do, but I definitely realized I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, that's half the battle. If you enjoy what you do, goodness me, that's the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you were actually a visiting researcher in Singapore a few years ago. Was that did that sort of lead you anywhere?
So that was part of my undergraduate degree. I decided to go over to a university in Singapore. I always seem to make these decisions and then kind of think about them after. And Singapore was a bit like that. I thought, oh, that sounds fun. Let's put my name down for that. And then arrived there, knocked on the door of one of the professors at the university and said, I've just arrived here. Have you got any interesting projects that you could take me on for? And yeah, so I was there for a couple of months studying in Nanyang University over there.
Oh, it sounds interesting anyway. So just tell us what Plastech Innovation actually do, and what's your USP?
So Plastech makes plastic aggregate for concrete. So traditional concrete is made up of sand, stone, cement and water. What we do is we take a proportion of the sand out of the traditional mix and we put our plastic aggregate in. And the aggregates that we produce are made entirely of waste plastic that can't currently be recycled. And when we first started, we didn't actually realise that the world is running out of construction grade sand. And the sand prices are increasing year on year. And obviously people are very aware of the plastic problem, Blue Planet, David Attenborough, but the sand problem really wasn't something that I was as aware of. There's excessive dredging going on all around the world. And you can't use desert sand. So everyone who thinks sand's everywhere, you can't actually use desert sand for construction.
Is it too fine?
It's too rounded, so it's the way it erodes. The particles bash against each other and erode it into perfect spheres. But river and sea sand is kind of a bit more irregular.
Right.
I guess our USP is, I would say, two things: our IP and probably our team. So we recently filed a patent on our technology, which was a big milestone for us. And the plastic aggregate can lower the carbon footprint of the concrete, can make it lighter weight, thermally insulating, visually appealing, and also sound reducing. And on the second point of the team, I'd say we're quite young, probably a bit naive, but that's probably a strength because we question everything. We don't assume we know anything. So we're told all the time, oh, you lack experience. And it's almost a strength because we ask everyone everything.
Take nothing for granted then.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no pride amongst us at all. So if we realise that one of us can do the job better than another one, we just say. And I think that's quite a special dynamic to have.
Yeah. And have you worked with this team through Durham University? Is that how you met up, or was it through business contacts?
No, so we met up during our PhDs and we were placed in the same team time and time again whilst travelling around these companies in the Northeast. And so Scott and Phil, my two co-founders, Phil was actually originally a mathematician and Scott is a physicist. So we're all scientists at heart, but slowly learning the ways of business.
Yeah. And with the patent, once you've got that, I mean, how long did it take you to get that?
It took us quite a while actually, because it's the first one that we filed. We wanted to get it right and we hadn't been through the process before. So we slowly went through the process, iterated it until it was absolutely perfect, to the point where we were happy to file.
And do you have that for 10 years?
So you have that until you get to PCT. You file your PCT and then you have, I think it's 20 years.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's good. That gives you a bit of time, doesn't it?
Yeah, hopefully enough time.
So what you were saying about the sand, I mean, the construction industry is the largest user of natural resources, and it is responsible for a lot of the nation's waste, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It produces a lot of waste, but we are seeing people move in the direction of reducing their waste, especially their plastic waste, and unnecessary plastic waste. I think it's really important to say, because you should start with the unnecessary plastic, because actually a lot of plastic is necessary.
And is that because it's durable, long lasting, and is that why plastic, it has to be used in some cases?
Yeah, I think plastic gets a really bad name, and sometimes rightly so, but other times I would say not rightly so. You can get rigid plastic, you can get flexible plastic, you can get plastic that's really resistant to heat, durable, used in medicine, sport, electronics, and I think it's absolutely necessary in quite a few industries. And it's it's a prime example though of this wonder material that we've invented, but not really thought properly about how we're going to dispose of it or what's going to happen once we've used it.
And do you think people are now they're shifting to lower carbon alternatives?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing a lot of people consider life cycle analysis now. So not only am I going to make this product and sell this product, I'm going to think about how long it takes to dispose, how we dispose of it, how much does it cost to dispose of it, etc. So we're definitely seeing a shift in behaviour.
Yeah, the main contractors in building things, they have a sort of responsibility, but you do see skips lying around, and they're obviously for subcontractors to just fill up with stuff. That is an issue, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a wider issue there with ownership and responsibility, and I feel like we don't really feel as individuals responsible for our waste. And we almost feel like it's our right to have it taken away, and you can just forget about it. And I think over the last year and a bit, we've looked around a lot of waste management sites and water plants and things, and it just kind of makes you realize where your waste goes. People are still picking bits of waste out because it's valuable, and I think there needs to be a bit of a attachment between your responsibility of where your waste goes and what happens to it, because it doesn't just go in a hole as soon as you put it in the bin and it gets taken away. It does have a life after that, and a lot of people are not aware about it.
Yeah. And sort of moving on from that, do you think buildings of the future can ever be plastic free though?
At the moment, I would say probably not. Like I said, I think we will see a lot less plastic being used in unnecessary ways. But I'm not entirely sure it would be right to get rid of plastic completely. I think it's a super complex issue, and I think it divides a lot of people. But I think one of the big things the three of us chat about all the time is kind of decoupling disposal from the carbon footprint, because you can think of plastic alternatives that the disposal is a lot better, but it's so carbon heavy. The energy required to produce it is 10, 20, 100 times more than the carbon equivalent. So I think our favorite example is a normal plastic bag, just a really lightweight carrier bag, is about 3 grams of carbon dioxide equivalent. But when you look at toilet roll, even though it's easier to dispose of, it costs 730 grams of carbon equivalent. So I think the conversation needs to be started around carbon footprint versus disposal, because don't get me wrong, plastic is an absolute nightmare to dispose of, and we still need to develop better techniques. But in terms of carbon cost, it's relatively cheap.
I mean, it is a worry. I mean, I'm not one of the young people coming up, but I worry for everybody, because, if David Attenborough, who is in his early 90s, he's such an icon of what's happening, and people believe him. Who's going to lead the way once he's gone? It is a bit of a worry, and it's got to be generated from pretty much your generation to lead the way on that. Otherwise, we're a little bit doomed, I'm afraid. It worries me as an older person.
I think it is a really worrying topic, and I find it quite hard to work in this space sometimes, because the more you read, the more you realise that things aren't where they should be. And you try not to get too depressed, because there's a little bit of hope, you have to take it. But I think David Attenborough got Instagram the other day. I don't know if you've seen.
I saw that, and he got lots of followers immediately, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he had the fastest growing following on Instagram or something.
Ever.
For him to feel the need to communicate via all social media platforms and all platforms in general, you realise that something needs to be done. I think that Greta Thunberg is leading the way for the really young generation, and she's doing a lot of really good work. I think we are seeing a movement from the younger generation, which is really exciting, and I think an unapologetic movement from the younger generation. And I feel like we always have to be guided by the younger generation, and they'll be the future consumers, and there is a significant consumer pull towards sustainability, green practices, eco-friendly products. And us as a team, we absolutely listen to that, because there's no point in creating a product or products for the past. You need to think to the future, and sustainability and thinking about sustainability will become part of our lifestyle, if it hasn't for most people already. And I think the more we look into waste and different waste streams, the more we see opportunities, and what is products, waste that is valueless for certain industries are so valuable for others. And Scott, our CTO, actually came up with a new phrase that I'm pretty sure he's trying to coin, which is a spherical economy, not just a circular economy. So you don't want that plastic bottle to just be made into plastic bottles over and over again, or there's other options for that plastic bottle. So what might be a valueless product in industry X could be valued in industry Y. So why don't we think about it a bit more multidisciplinary and inter industry? So different industries can use waste from other industries, and I feel like there could be a conversation around that, because just our tours around certain industries in the Northeast, we can see actually you don't know what to do with that, but someone we visited last week probably could do something with it. So our future direction is definitely around waste in general, and trying to think about innovative ways and sustainable practices to develop valuable products from what is currently valueless materials. But I think it comes back to the conversation that we had at the start, where it is a balance between disposal versus carbon footprint, because I think a lot of people just group them together, and they think this milk bottle has got this plastic milk bottle has got a really bad name, but actually it's really cheap energy wise to produce. And if you switch to these glass milk bottles, the carbon footprint on that is so much larger. So it's just getting people to
understand,
educate themselves and think about, I'm swapping plastic because it's better for disposal, but is that carbon footprint a lot more? And I don't think there really is a right or wrong, a clear-cut right or wrong answer. But I think the conversation definitely needs to be started.
But what you're doing is, I mean, you're using exactly what you should. So you're using waste plastic to make something different and something very, very useful for many ways. I mean, you say it's lighter, it's more efficient in other ways. So, you know, you're certainly leading the way on that, aren't you?
Yeah, I think one of the properties that we really wanted to pursue is making sure we got value out of the product. So a lot of companies you see jump on the plastic-free bandwagon and produce something, but we didn't want to just do that. We wanted to make sure that the concrete was useful. We weren't just using plastic for the sake of using plastic. We wanted to produce a valuable product that bore necessary properties with it, rather than just using it to hit targets or using it to say you're eco-friendly, etc. Oh God, I'm going to sound like one of those COVID briefings now, but we're always guided by the science, and we will always break it down to the carbon footprint, because ultimately climate change for us is the priority, and plastic disposal is one of those things that we need to sort out, and we must sort out. But climate change has to be the top priority, and that takes it back down to carbon footprint.
Like I say, I find it worrying, because I feel impotent. I don't know what to do. I think that we need to be guided. We do need to be guided.
Yeah, I think it's nice to think about it in terms. Maybe I'm saying this is nice because I am a scientist, but the facts. And I think some people respond quite well to kind of emotion and being lectured to, and like documentaries, but some people just want to know what to do. Like, what can I do in my...
Yeah, what difference can we make? That's the thing. What can I do that makes a difference? Maybe just stop driving or something, but you know, it's things like that.
There's a lady who works for the KTN, Knowledge Transfer Network, and she is a massive advocate for this, and she's actually stopped flying altogether, stopped driving, and it's sacrifices. I think if everyone made small, I think that's a very big sacrifice, but I think if everyone made smaller sacrifices, we would be in a better place.
Yeah, you're probably right, because it's not so hard on everybody then, is it?
Yeah, definitely.
And now a note from this episode's sponsor.
Hi there, my name is John Burns and I'm the MD of Diamond Group. Diamond Group are a North East based office technology company which supply most product to do with the office, such as photocopiers, printers, scanners, document management software, laptops, hosted telephony, telephone systems, mobiles, vehicle trackers, office furniture such as desks, chairs. We do some office refits. We also supply training to businesses on everything from leadership management, apprenticeships. There's basically nothing we can't supply a business with, really. Any IT need, we can look after you. If you're interested, you could give us a call on 0191 519 3700, or you can contact us via our website www.diamond-group.net. Thank you.
I mean, there's one thing I want to ask you personally is, you know, you see roads being built, and you know, they say that roads can actually be built. The tarmac can be made by plastic, reusable plastic. Have you heard that? Do you know that if that's right, and is it happening?
I've heard of that. There's a lot of roads in the northeast that are made with plastic. So all it comes down to is plastic's just carbon and hydrogen stringed together, and so is asphalt, what they make roads with. So asphalt and bitumen. Bitumen is just carbon and hydrogen. So the idea there is if you melt down the plastic, you can use it as a bitumen replacement or an additive. So yeah, there's a lot of products out there that can now do that.
And would you see that as a good thing, or is that not really changing the carbon footprint? It's just it's not affecting the carbon footprint, or it's even worse for the carbon footprint. Is it a better option?
I think if you can use a valueless material, so what we always try and do is use material that nothing else can be done with. The option is landfill or incineration. Right. So I feel like if you can use a material that would have gone to landfill or incineration for something useful, but not just for something useful, for something that actually brings value and makes that product better, then I think absolutely should use it.
So prior to COVID, many organisations were sort of looking at how they could reduce their plastic consumption, and I suppose consumers are as well. And some have been, you know, relatively simple, such as switching to cardboard, like you were suggesting there, and biodegradable materials. Do you think COVID has changed people's thoughts on that? And are we producing more waste now?
So we've attended quite a few webinars on this topic, and again, like the whole plastic problem, it's really, really complex. And I think the prediction a few months ago was that consumers are buying less plastic just because they're buying less items in general, but more plastic is being used. So for instance, we're looking at a lot of single-use plastic that wouldn't have been used in the past. So visors, masks, a lot of PPE that just gets incinerated. And you're seeing emergence of plastic carrier bags in supermarkets again. But I say on the whole, we're definitely seeing less plastic that is unnecessary being used. And I'd say it's largely consumer driven.
Yeah. And so do you think we are actually producing more then? We have been with all of the PPE and things. I mean, that's a massive change, isn't it? I mean, thinking of the NHS, all of their garments used to be washed, didn't they? And now they've become not even recyclable because they want to get rid of them. So it's been a big change, that, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we're definitely using more of certain plastics and less of others. So I don't know how that tips, but yeah, it's quite sad. So my partner actually works on the respiratory ward in Newcastle Hospital, and he says, oh yeah, this PPE gets incinerated, or this gets thrown away, and you're always in two minds about it, because for medicine you can't really compromise. You have to do what's best for the patient, and you can't afford cross contamination. But in terms of a plastics point of view, you obviously it hurts to see that much plastic thrown away or incinerated.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what do you think what's the face of your industry going to look like in 5, 10 or 20 years even, and what exciting technologies do you foresee? Because I mean, you've been quite early in your business life. That's just the start, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, we are relatively early into the industry, but as scientists, we always look out for new innovations and new things that are happening. And there is a lot of new innovations happening that are really interesting. And I think it's been a stagnant industry for quite a long time. And so it's quite exciting to see technologies emerging. So there's lots of greener cements around, because cement is a very bad material, but it's like plastic, it's a very useful material. We're seeing a lot of 3D printing concrete around as well. That is super interesting. So 3D printing houses and buildings, and so I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the future.
And what particular side of things are you looking forward to? Is there a certain area that you particularly want to see?
In terms of Plastech, I'd say we're developing a technology at the moment that I'm very, very excited about. So it's a thermally insulating block. So if you think of like a breeze block, but it's, from our calculations, it's getting third-party verified at the moment, but from our calculations, it's carbon negative. So what that means is its carbon footprint is actually less than neutral. So the net effect will be removing carbon from the atmosphere, which is completely game-changing, and we didn't realize would be so important and so, I guess, significant.
And that's something that you're working on now, or you're looking at now. So just watch this space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And when you've been starting up, are there businesses or entrepreneurs or big faces, if you like, that you follow, that you've kind of thought, I'd like to follow that kind of style? Or because it's early days for you in how your business grows. How many people have you got now?
So there's 3 of us, so still the 3 co-founders working on it.
Yeah. So as you grow, you're obviously going to have management and business issues to tackle. And have you seen any entrepreneurs or businesses that you'd like to emulate?
I think we met a startup probably about a year ago now, actually. They came to the Northeast to do a presentation, and they're called Nopla. So they make a seaweed extract. I want to say plastic, it's completely not plastic. It's a container made of seaweed. So they put tomato ketchup in it, or they've even done like whiskeys and cocktails in it, and it's like a little pouch, and you just pop it in your mouth, and it pops and it releases whatever's in the pouch. And I thought that was a really lovely example of a really young team, really innovative, pushing the boundaries on plastic and innovation. So we've actually kept in contact with them. We visited their headquarters in London and had a little chat about what they were doing. So in terms of what I see us to be, I think that would be a really lovely kind of culture. They've got quite a big team now. So yeah, that's what I envision us to be like.
Yeah, it's good when you've got somebody that you can just imagine how you'd be, because it's hard to know how it's going to work.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you're so new to it and very little business experience, and kind of developing the culture and developing the business in general.
Yeah. And does the university give you support? Now, you are a spin out, so they must have some contact with you. Do you get mentors through the university, or?
Yeah, so Durham University have been really supportive with us. So we're the first student spin out, which is really exciting, hopefully not the last. And yeah, they offer us lots of support. So whenever we've had some questions, whether they be legal, marketing, if we've got any things to push out marketing wise, we've got a big platform with them. In terms of mentors, absolutely. We've had so Leon Hutchings, David King, Peter Allen, all professors, business school, chemistry, help us along the way. So we've had meetings with them just to kind of keep us on track and answer any questions and things like that.
I'm sure those people that actually support you like that must enjoy seeing you doing it.
Yeah, I think being in academia, it's quite a nice change for them to sit in a meeting that isn't just completely about science. It's a bit businessy as well. So I think they absolutely love it, and especially seeing the progress.
Well, there's got to be a good balance between science and industry, because there's no point in doing the science if you're not going to use it.
Exactly. That is my mantra completely. And I think that's why I love academia, but I like seeing the science implemented. And I really struggle with, it's called like blue sky science, where you just try an idea, it might work, it might not work, but it's really early stage. And I think that definitely has its place 100%. And a lot of things are discovered that way. But for me personally, I'm not motivated by it at all. I need to see results fast. And that's what you see in industry, because time is money a lot more than it is in academia.
That's right. Yeah, you're not working on a research grant, are you? You're actually, it's your money in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so for people starting up, what advice would you give to them?
I would say be brave and start for the first. But I would say my top tip would be to question everything. I think we do that quite well. And whenever we see something done a particular way, don't just take that as the way it should be done. Question it and ask people why they do it that way. There might be a valid reason, but more often than not, the answer is because that's the way we've always done it. And I think when people say that's the way we've always done it, you think, okay, so therefore there must be a better way to do it. Or there must be a different way to do it. So yeah, question everything.
It doesn't sound like you suffer fools. You want to challenge them, don't you?
Yeah, challenge everything. Yeah.
Good. Oh, that's great. Thank you very much for talking to me. It's been really interesting what you've been telling me, and good luck with everything.
Thank you for having me.